Good morning, afternoon, or evening. My name is Xavier Herrera, and in the past month, I've been working on the following analysis project concerning influenza season with the aim of answering the question: when and where should medical staff be allocated throughout the United States to best serve patients infected with influenza? Now, let's run through some broad picture statistics to frame the situation and possible solutions into context. In 2017, the US had an estimated population of about 321 million people. And from 2009 to 2017, which is the time span our datasets cover, sourced from the CDC, an average of 73,000 individuals died per year from influenza. We can also see that California, New York, Texas, Pennsylvania, and Florida have the highest death counts, and this is presumable because they have the largest populations. Let's reiterate, what do we need to know to properly allocate staff to every state, which is the main question this project focuses on. First is, when is the upcoming influenza season? Second, what demographic has the highest risk of death by influenza? And third, what states have the largest number of this high-risk demographic? Now let's answer the first question. When is the upcoming influenza season? Taking a look at this time chart, we can observe that in essentially every single year, except 2016, which had its peak in March, January has the highest number of deaths throughout all 50 states. Making a prediction using the forecast indicator, we can see that for 2018, January will be in all likelihood the month with the most influenza deaths. Important also to know that starting from 2016, we are experiencing a yearly uptrend in influenza deaths. 2016 in March had 7,491 deaths. January of 2017 had 8,386, and in 2018 we are expecting 8,847 deaths. So we now know that January is peak influenza season nationwide. It's at this moment when we answer the who of the scenario. Who are the people and which are the demographics at most risk of dying from influenza? I want to note for everyone's knowledge, the two visuals here present are based on the average of the data annualized from 2009 to 2017, meaning the average death counts over here and the population size for each age group to the right. Just glancing at the tree map on the left, we clearly see that the 85 plus or 85 and over, the 75 to 84, and the 65 to 74 age groups cover over 50% of all influenza deaths. This seems reasonable and even intuitive. The older you are, the more vulnerable against all types of diseases you become. Fair enough. But when we look at the bar chart to the right, we see how much more dire the situation is. They don't only have the highest death counts, but also the highest rates of mortality. To put it into context, the 45 to 54 age group has about 44 million people, and it has a death rate of 0.008%, which is roughly 1 in 13,000 chance of death. On the other hand, the 85 and over group has only 5.6 million people, which is 8 times smaller than the previously mentioned group, the 45 to 54, yet they have a 0.43% death rate, which equates to 1 in 233 chance of death. We see this also with the 75 to 84 and 65 to 74 age groups. They have significantly smaller populations, yet have larger rates of death than the remaining age groups. These latest age groups, the last three, should be considered our vulnerable population. But let's look at here, where it says higher than expected. We see that the minus 5 years of age group has basically half the population of all other groups, but it has a significant death rate of 0.028%, which is larger than all other regular groups, which have 0.008 and at most 0.014%. death rate. Therefore, the minus 5 years of age group should be considered also and included in the high risk category. Now, for the creation of this map, right here of the United States, I aggregated the age groups of minus 5 years of age and over 65 years of age as a single group, which we now will call the vulnerable population. We see that California, Texas, right here, Florida, and New York have the highest risk, the largest high risk populations or vulnerable populations, and also the highest death counts. We see that with the black dots in different sizes. This suggests there is a strong correlation between the size of a vulnerable population and the amounts of deaths of said population. And that is the case, demonstrated by this scatter plot, showing all states following the trend line and with a correlation coefficient of 0.95, meaning there is a very strong connection between these two variables. We see that New York, Texas, and Florida, they don't follow so much the norm. They're a little bit off the trend line, but in general, all states follow the trend line very tightly. Now, as an agency, we know when and where staff are most needed to attend patients infected with influenza. The number one state we have to look at is California. We see right here with 48,000 deaths. That is the combination of all years from 2009 to 2017. And we see that the DC area, District of Columbia, they have the least amounts of deaths. So 2,322, but also have one of the smallest populations. If you have any further questions, feel free to email me. And thanks again for coming to this presentation, and have a great rest of your day.